r/askreddit. What are some psychology experiments with interesting results?
Hedonic adaptation. Put simply, a person who had just won the lottery and another person who had just been paralyzed took a survey to measure their life contentment. Obviously, it was high and low, respectively. However, they both took the same survey a year later and both scored similarly. The point being that regardless what happens to you in life, good or bad, you will always adapt and spend most of your life feeling neutral.
Yeah, it's just like when you're sick from the flu or whatever, you really, really wish you weren't sick. But then when you're not sick, it's not like you feel grateful for not being sick, you just feel neutral and don't really care.
I make a habit of appreciating whenever I can fall asleep with unclogged sinuses. I appreciate every time I go to the bathroom and do a regular poop, since I've tried having crippling diarrhea. I try to appreciate a healthy appetite because I've struggled with nausea, and that is the worst. I get that most people take a healthy body for granted until they get sick. Working with people who are ill might help me remember how good I have it. It's an exercise in appreciating the things you don't normally notice, and maybe that's a way to be a little more happy every day.
One time I participated in a paid research experiment. I was basically tricked into thinking I was drunk. I was placed in a room with 2 other people, and we were instructed to drink vodka with cranberry juice over a period of time while we socialized. After we drank, I was placed in a room where I had to read some flashing words on a computer. I felt pretty drunk at this point. When the researcher came back into the room, he gave me my car keys and said I was never actually given alcohol. He briefly told me that because I was anticipating drinking for this experiment, that my brain had tricked me into feeling the effects of being intoxicated. I immediately snapped out of it and was completely amazed at how I felt.
So I can feel drunk without actually drinking, potentially getting hungover and spending all that money on booze. Can someone keep switching out my drinks at parties like all the time?
Split brain studies. One example. By providing differing information to each hemisphere of the brain in split-brain individuals, those with a severed corpus callosum, meaning there's no communication between the 2 hemispheres, they found that people would actually physically grab their own hand with their other hand if they saw it making a mistake. Basically, each side of the brain controls one side of your body, and in split-brain people you can actually make both sides display a disagreement with the other, which is insane if you think about it.
There's another similar experiment where people with split brains have one eye able to see a picture and the other eye can't see it. Then they draw the picture with one hand. While they're drawing the picture, if you ask them, they have no idea what the image they're being shown is. It's like they can't see it even though they can draw it.
Also, if you give someone like this a fork and cover their left eye, they'll be able to tell you what you use it for, but not be able to recall what it's called. Then cover the other eye and they'll instantly be able to tell you that it's a fork, but will have no idea what you use it for. Weird, but also interesting as fuck.
I don't know the name of it, but apparently 2 people become closer if they survive through something together. Not even actual surviving death scenarios, but anything that has you on your toes and heart racing like a roller coaster.
Can confirm. Wife cheated on me with a guy after they both survived being shot at.
It's not that psychopaths lack empathy, but rather they have the manual settings. A specific region of the brain lights up when people experience empathy. For most people, it's an automatic subconscious response. But in a study where they showed emotional videos to psychopaths and none while scanning their brains, psychopaths would only light that region of the brain when specifically asked to feel for the character, while the control participants would light up automatically.
So, would it be possible to be some kind of benevolent psychopath, one who always or mostly chooses to empathize?
The Rosenthal effect, the prejudice and expectations you have towards a student/contestant/etc. highly dictates his performance in the long run. Look it up, a Pygmalion effect.
I was at an educational weekend for teachers, and the lecturer asked, or rather challenged, whether we want to know stuff about our students when we first start teaching them, what their strengths and weaknesses are, what we have to be careful about, etc. It broke my heart when a large number of teachers said yes, it made their job easier. I spoke up saying it's better not to know anything except health and safety concerns because it's then easier to avoid prejudice, and some of them quite haughtily replied they're mature enough to avoid that, as if that doesn't happen subconsciously. It's sad. Teachers aren't taught these things while in training.
Was a teacher instead of me, Yusa. We were taught this.
Not a psychologist, but the one where given a choice between sitting down doing nothing and shocking oneself, people tend to choose the shock, Ergo, we would choose pain over boredom.
Curiosity over boredom, maybe.
Stimuli, even negative. No stimuli.
Reconsolidation. When you retrieve a memory from your long-term memory, it is susceptible to being manipulated. This can lead to two memories being totally changed from the source. This is why eyewitness accounts cannot be fully seen as true. This knowledge is also being used to help people with PT by changing the negative memories they have of their particular trauma.
You have been banned from /r/Mandalay Effect.
Could I just remember this wrong? No, the entire universe has changed.
If people have the upper hand, they will put others down to keep it. An experiment told a class of kids that having blue eyes meant you were smarter, achieved more, etc. All of a sudden, kids with blue eyes formed their own groups. Things like bullying and exclusion of other eye colors started too. They repeated the experiment with different eye colors in different classes, all with the same results.
Jane Elliott was the one that conducted this experiment.